how are you guys doing today?
Great, Errol. How are you? I love your photo.
Thank you so much, man. The tool that's there is a Native American. It's called a coup stick, which is all about building up your confidence and courage to go to your enemy and just touch him on the shoulder. And then this way you can say, hey, no matter how bad the world is, we can still touch each other.
Wow, I need one of those.
Sounds like a business.
Oh, it is. This book gives people the opportunity to step into a world that was so dark, and yet you guys give us so much light.
I love it.
But to put it together, it required a lot of work. So how did you guys collaborate in that way?
Well, it all began a long time ago in a Hollywood far, far away. I met Fred Otash back in 1990 when I was working in development at Warner Brothers Television. And I thought I found the holy grail of Hollywood stories, a real life Philip Marlowe whose life intimately intertwined with some of the greatest icons of the 20th century. Characters like Freddie Otash come along once in a lifetime. So needless to say, I was rather smitten, and I've been obsessed with telling a story ever since. And 3 decades later, here we are. Unfortunately, Fred's legacy has been rather raped and pillaged by various fictional authors ever since his mysterious death in 1992. So when Josh and I sat down to write this book, our primary goal was to tell Fred's authentic truth, juxtaposed to all the fiction and the fake news that sadly has become rather embedded in the cultural zeitgeist. And that goal would have never been possible or credible if not for Fred's daughter, Colleen, who so graciously granted us exclusive and unfettered access to her father's archives that until recently have sat dormant inside a storage facility for nearly 3 decades.
Oh my God! Oh my! One of the things about this book is where I'm kind of torn is the fact that there's a side of me that feels that Fred is a hero, but at the other side, because of all of the fake news, like you were talking about, you don't know where to go and what direction. And this book really does set us straight.
Yeah, that was the goal. We wanted to set the record straight and in essence. Give readers a firsthand eyewitness account of the events in his life, as he said they actually happened. In essence, we're allowing Fred to speak from the grave,
wow.
If you will, and in many ways, this book is it's a reclamation of his truth and his humanity.
I call that theory, dear future reader. In other words, what we put on paper will be found somewhere else in the future, and how we put it out there. And that's exactly what this book is. It's like, hey, look, I lived this life, and now someone else is going to share that story, and we're gonna really bring it forward.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah. I was so intrigued to know, and this is so Hollywood, that, because we always see the movies and the TV shows where they bug homes and bug offices. This dude was real. I mean, he really did it.
Yeah, he was notorious for bugging the homes and offices and playpens of the movie stars and kingmakers in his day. And let's face it, Fred operated in the gray area. He himself admitted the wiretaps, were illegal, but used them in many cases to help people out. And one of those situations was when Rock Hudson was kicking his wife, Phyllis Gates, to the curb. Fred was hired by her lawyer to record Rock's confession that he was a homosexual. In fact, had an affair the day after they were married, and was able to get Phyllis a divorce settlement, a proper divorce settlement that she well deserved.
Oh, my God. I remember that moment so well, but sadly, I learned it through the National Enquirer, because Rock Hudson was still a superstar. He was on Dynasty, and the kissing and everything like that was taking place. People just, they just kind of went, what the hell? What's going on here? And so I'm glad that you covered that in this book.
Yeah, it's quite a fascinating story. There's actually, in the book, is a full transcript of his confession to Rock's confession to his ex-wife Phyllis, and delves into some of the areas that he discussed with his psychiatrist. So it's, there's really some interesting depth, certainly in that case, that's covered in the book.
Did you feel like historians, or did you feel like that you were journalists when you were putting this book together?
I felt like an archaeologist.
Yes.
I mean, I thought it was rather ironic that I was kind of putting on my private eye. We were kind of putting on our private eye hats in investigating Fred Otash. And because we had this incredible treasure trove of files that just went on and on, it was absolutely amazing and fascinating.
Can you imagine in today's world if Fred was here? Look at the technology that he would have in his hands.
Oh, I mean, it would be a whole other world. Then he was dealing with what was, at the time, state-of-the-art methods of electronic surveillance and his specialty, which was wiretapping. But I can only imagine what he would be able to do with what we see today.
He had to have had some serious guts and the willingness to do things, because when you go and investigate a politician, God, that's a dangerous game, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, but he had Fred was a tough guy. I mean, he learned how to roll the hard way. I mean, he was an ex-Marine who turned L.A.P.D cop, a vice cop. He kind of rose from the ashes of an L.A.P.D, riddled with corruption, to become the premier private detective in the 50s and 60s. And, let me put it this way. It's hard to be a pillar of virtue and rectitude when you're the top private eye during one of the most iconic and rather lawless periods in Hollywood history. Behind its glamorous facade, the city was rife with crooked cops and power brokers and mobsters, FBI and CIA agents at every turn. So, at the end of the day, Otash was hardly morally indifferent, but as Hollywood's king of the snoops, as National Enquirer dubbed him back in the late 1950s, operating on the edges of ethical conduct came with a territory. But ultimately, he was committed to serving justice for his clients.
Wow. I could totally see this book becoming a movie with Russell Crowe playing the part of Fred.
Well, interestingly enough, Russell Crowe's character in L.A. Confidential is partly based on Fred. So we could maybe use some new casting.
Right. What's interesting about this book is the fact that we have all seen these black and white legendary photos, and it's almost like you guys step in between those black and white photos and saying, hey, look, there's a story here. I mean, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, you've got stories here that go with those photographs.
Yeah, and that was the great part about having Fred's archive to write the book. You have the real information straight, from the horse's mouth as it happened at the time. So we're able to take those black and white photographs and add quite a bit of color in the case of many of these stories about Judy Garland and Frank Sinatra, Lana Turner. Really, that is just a treasure trove of information that was in those files. Is sort of the gift that kept on giving.
Wow. Well, congratulations on the book, The Fixer. Please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
I would love it. Thank you. Thank you, Arrow. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Arrow.
You guys be brilliant today, okay?
Yeah, we will
try.
Okay.
I'm going to save your picture.
Thank you. I'll just send you the coup stick. How about that?
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Have fun, you guys.